What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. J. Hill, and this is my dog, man. This dude is crazy, man. What's up, kid?
What's
man?
up, baby boy?
Man, welcome back to In the Black Court.
Yes, sir.
How was your week, bro?
Man, it was beautiful, beautiful week. You know, we all have some, tough things going on sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord bring you through, man. All you can do is walk it off and smile, man.
Boy, it feel good on the other side, don't it, boy?
Boy,
Feel good on the other side, boy. You see that light? It will creep through
boy,
like that,
I
what?
tell you what, man. It sure feel good, man. I always tell LG, man, I had a relationship in college, man, with girlfriend and things wasn't working out too good.
Yeah.
And she was, getting on my nerves. I was getting on hers.
Yeah.
And finally had a chance to break up. Just worked out that way, lucky, in her dorm room, breaking up and all that. And I walked outside, man, let me tell you something, man. That sun was shining so bright and warm and beautiful. The sky I never seen the sky that blue, man. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it is good to get to that other side sometime when that sunshine come out like that.
Yeah, man. When you first in it, you like, boy, when this thing gonna end?
Boy, yes, sir.
You be like, when this thing gonna end? But man, then you get a little glimmer. The good Lord will give you a little glimmer. You know what I'm saying? To let you know, it's all right.
It's all
Just
right.
hold tight.
It's all right. It's all right.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Boy, them steps feel good. But
So, what we talking about tonight? This episode is brought to you by Attorney Ken Harris.
Hey man, I done had some stuff on my mind, man.
I'm with you. I got you.
Man. Really, man. Man, look, let me tell you something, man. First of all, let me say this, man.
Hold up. Shout out to LG, always on the scene.
Yeah.
Our guy. You good, LG?
Leonard Graham, right down there from Durham, Hillside, right there, man. One of the top, second ranked black school in North Carolina behind E. Smith. Man. They got the second best band and all that good stuff, man. So yeah, they Hillside, man. Props to all y'all out there from Hillside. LG went to the second best black school.
All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah.
All right, roll it out. What we doing?
Man, look, I've had it. Man, Jay, first I have to thank you because we had a different, program for tonight.
Line up.
Different line. But this thing was eating at me, man.
Yeah.
This thing was eating at me, man. I don't know if any of you all have ever seen the music video, Something in Common.
We got something in common.
Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you almost have to say it like that. You say Bobby Brown.
Mm-hmm. Then
you say Bobby Brown and Whitney Houston because you feel something inside whenever you think about Whitney Houston and sort of the tragedy that they experienced in their lives.
Yeah.
Most of you all out there know the Bobby Brown biopic is on now and it's hot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you can say. It's just really high. It goes a lot deeper than the prior New Edition biopics and all that into Bobby Brown's intimate life and progression, leaving New Edition and all that. But a big segment of it is how he started interacting with Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
And you know how they met, right?
No, I think I remember. It's kind of fuzzy, but
crazy, man.
Yeah.
They were at this award show and Bobby was there chilling and, obviously getting the award. All that Whitney was nominated, but she kept bumping into him.
Mm-hmm.
And he finally said, look, you keep bumping into me, but she was doing it intentionally to get his attention.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they started interacting. But it goes into a discussion of Whitney and Bobby and their relationship, how good it was, how bad it was, how drugs influenced the relationship, some of the regrets that he has about the relationship. Because he even said, if I had stopped using drugs when we were married, I think she would have stopped using drugs and she'd still be alive today, which was a very interesting comment.
That's tough. Yeah.
But to me, Jay, it caused me to have this anxiety because there were times in their relationship, including that Something in Common video, which I think is Bobby Christina when she was a baby.
I think so.
At the end. Where their relationship was good.
Yeah.
And they appeared to be a unit and loving each other. And people didn't want her to be with Bobby. They thought Bobby would bring her down, and they didn't realize she's from New Jersey.
Yeah.
She's straight from the hood too, you know, and so they made a great couple. But it got me to thinking, man, as I watched that biopic and the video Something in Common, where are those relationships now? Like, I mean, I'm talking about amongst the younger generation. Has the African American community lost the momentum it had related to relationships and romance? It started getting me because when you look at popular culture now, you don't see us really talking a lot about romance and relationships and the importance of relationships. You don't even see it mechanically in the African American community. So, Earth, Wind, and Fire said it best. After the love is gone, what used to be right is wrong. Okay? Can love that's lost been found? And that's what I wanted to talk about today. First of all, have we lost the concept of romance? Is the concept of romance important, period, anyway? And if so, if we have lost it, are we ever going to be able to regain that element in the African American community? You know?
Do I think it's lost? I think it depends on how you look at it. I think that it's different from what you and I saw growing up. Now, you and I, you know, we're different than a lot of folks. We were blessed to grow up in a 2-parent household. We saw our parents be married for a very, very long time. So we saw the Black family and experienced the Black family, which is different from a lot of people. A lot of Black people didn't experience what we did. So they may not have, they can't relate to some of the things that we experienced. The other thing too is I believe that when we were growing up, you know, especially, you know, you're like my older brother. My older brother is the exact same age as you. And I just remember a time, like you remember going to house parties or being in the basement. You remember slow dragging with a female at a high school dance or wherever, man. And chivalry and the way you courted a female and all those things were different back then. Now, so I don't think it's lost. I think it's changed. To the young people today, you know, DMing somebody is approaching them, not being somewhere at the mall or at high school and all your homeboys like, yo, Kenny, go ahead and go say something to her, right? You know, now it's like, shoot, I'm finna go holler at her on her DMs. I'm gonna put a money bag or heart emoji under her in her comments. And another thing that I've heard really quickly is that people get to, you know, explicit things very quickly. You know, if you talk to any females that are dating in this era, they talk about that there is really not a lot of conversation. There's not a lot of talking on the phone anymore. Everybody wants to text, and it gets straight to the business. They're getting straight to, hey, send them pics over. Let me see this. Let me see that. So to answer your question, it's not necessarily that it's lost, but it is changed. And I will say this, last thing on this point is it's accepted. People do that. Once they get off DM and they start talking on the phone or they start texting, next thing you know, they talking about what they want to do to each other, and they sending pictures and things of that nature to each other. And that is the courtship these days. And so just to answer that part of it, I think it's changed. And, you know, Graham is shaking his head because, you know, he in the streets a little bit. And so he know what it's like. He knows what it's like to date in this era.
Let me ask you this, Jay. First of all, this Whitney Houston thing intrigues me.
Okay.
It's funny. You know, I told you one time, man, there was one woman my wife knew that if I ever met her, I was going to leave her. That was Whitney Houston. I was like, baby, you know, when this was the young Whitney, I was like, yo, you know, better hope I don't never meet her.
She was like, can't you take my case?
Hey, look, in a minute, and win it. Hey, and I finally got to meet Whitney. You mean Graham got to meet Whitney Houston, and we were at a Roy Jones fight, and I was sitting in the audience.
Yeah.
Queen Latifah was sitting beside me.
Wow.
And I hear this loud woman cursing. And I'm kind of like, oh, this person has no regard for the fact that we in a arena. What was that, Graham? That wasn't Madison Square Garden. That was the Telesco fight.
Radio City Music.
In Radio City Music Hall.
Okay.
And I looked over, it was Whitney Houston. Cursing and yelling, and it was really strange, but it was interesting to me because she wasn't what people thought she was, right?
Yeah.
But when you look at Bobby Brown, she was perfect for what Bobby Brown was.
Yeah.
And so there's a romantic history involved in that relationship. I don't see like that being, I don't, and that wasn't that long ago. I don't see those types of relationships, and maybe I'm just missing it, but what I see is a lot of what you just talked about. A lot of DMing, a lot of sex, a lot of, all you gotta do is look on Instagram, and you'll see where the world is now. There's not a lot of hype about romance.
Yeah.
So I guess the question for me is, because it was interesting, Bobby Brown, even though he's gone through all he's gone through, kind of thought the romance of their relationship was important.
Yeah.
And the fact that they had chemistry, and had they kept their heads on right, they would have had something special for a long time. I saw that in my mother and father. God rest their souls. And you talked about your mom and dad.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of that now, so I'm wondering whether or not that's important or not.
Romance?
To the black community. Romance, and you wrote it up there, relationships. Is that dynamic important to where we're headed as an African American community?
It's a lot of layers to that. I think, a couple things. Number one, I think that romance and being in a relationship, a lot of people I think want to be in relationships. People are still in relationships. Here's what's different though. People don't care about leaving relationships very quickly. So whether that's marriage, whether that's being with someone, like people feel like in this day and time that if they are unhappy, I don't have to deal with this. I'd rather get out of this. I'll go ahead and get divorced and I'm out. When we were growing up, it was almost shameful to get a divorce. You didn't hear a lot of people getting divorced, especially in black neighborhoods or in black culture. You didn't hear a lot about that. At least I didn't. And so I just think nowadays, man, people just go from one person to the next. It's about them being happy. It's about convenience. And so do I think relationships have changed? Yes. Do I think it's gone away or that romance is going away? No, I just think the way they do it today is different. It just, in my opinion, and things that people value like right now, it's a lot of people. I'm just keep trying to do my best to be real. People, smoke together. You know what I mean? These days, people go to the what do you call it? The nightclub or the exotic, shoe model club. You know what I mean? Strip club. They go together and throw money and activities. It's just different as far as what the courtship and what people do as it relates to this is what our relationship is like.
Well, it's interesting. When I was coming up, like even those dudes, the best athletes, like the dudes that were always attracted all the ladies. Even they were down with having a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Bobby Brown was that dude. He had a lot of relationships. One of these things in his Bobby, he talked about his relationship with Janet Jackson. Everybody was trying to wonder whether or not that was real. I don't think there are any questions about that now, but B. Brown.
She ain't acknowledging that, brother.
I don't care what she say. B. Brown wouldn't hold him back on this.
Hey, B. Brown been talking about her on every documentary and everything. She won't say a peep about that dude.
B. Brown left no doubt. And so, but even like relative to Janet, his goal was a relationship. So here's a dude who had them all.
Yeah.
But his goal was a relationship. I don't necessarily see that like with guys now.
What's that?
Young dudes. Like my goal is to have a relationship. Like a relationship that will lead to a long-term interaction, that will lead to love and marriage and all that. Back in the day when I was coming up, even those dudes, that's what everybody was about. I don't see that now, and I'm wondering if that's not pervasive anymore in the African American community, whether that dynamic has an impact on our community. Because it seems like having a relationship, targeting being with someone as young and then older, having children, having that family unit, it seems like that starts when you're younger, that yearning to do that. But if you take that away, now you're starting to rip a little bit at the fabric of the African American family.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm concerned about, is that even Bobby Brown during that era was down with having a family.
I see what you're saying.
But now, I don't, it seems to be more about exposure, and I don't hear a lot of young folks like emphasizing family. But it's maybe I'm just not hearing it. But it just, when you look at the media and culture, pop culture and all that, it just doesn't seem like that's a point of emphasis right now. And it scares me a little bit, because that may further rip at the fabric of building Black families as we progress.
Listen, my homie came to pod tonight, so since he came to pod, we finna pod. All right, so I'll say this first. You tap into something. You're right. Even the biggest playboy felt that having a family was still an intricate component to his life. Even if he had a quote unquote side chick or a woman on the side of town. You know, back in the day, somebody could have a whole family on the other side of town, but they still felt like, I have my wife, I have my children. Family was important. I'm going to bring up a name. Kevin Samuels was talking about this. He was talking about that, other races, that those women focus on finding their mate first in college, when they go to work, early in their 20s, to go ahead and meet that person, have a family, and then after that, they go and focus on their careers. And he was pointing out that a lot of Black women wait till later in life. They go to get all these degrees and all these things, get their career popping or whatever, and then they're in their mid to late 30s before they want to start a family. I won't just put that all on women. I will say this: the world is much bigger, Ken. When you and I were growing up, Graham, we had the female in our high school, or you go to the mall in your town, or you go to a rival high school to go holler at something, right? To go talk to a girl. Bro, we can open up this phone right now and I can somebody can holler at
Watch out.
I'll say this. When I lived in Atlanta, I would be on, whether it was Black Planet, MySpace, I think Facebook was just kind of starting off, but there was tons of websites where you were meeting women all over the world, and these on websites. Now you take it further in Web 2, where you have social media, and now, man, you can scroll women from all over the world, from Africa to right down your street, and say, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? Hey, you pretty? Hey, what you doing? And so my point to what you're saying is that there's too many options for brothers and sisters these days, and they're not in a hurry to get married anymore. They're not in a hurry to have a family anymore. And to your point, yes, or to your question, yes, it is impacting the Black family. Man,
it's interesting you say that, Jay, because I see a little bit of it, and y'all chime in. A little bit of it seems like I hear more complaints from African American women than men.
Yeah.
This seems like the era of the dude. This is the era of the dude. It's like you say, man, first of all, we outnumbered, and you talk about Atlanta, it's 12, 13 to 1 down there.
20 player.
Yeah, 20 to 1.
Yes, sir.
See, so you first of all, like you say, you can play. There's no repercussion. Okay, if you ain't down, I'll go over here.
Yeah.
In Atlanta, I see dudes break it down by geography.
Yeah.
We got 8 counties. I got 8. I got 2 in each county.
Got one in Snellville, Stone Mountain, Jonesboro.
Yeah. I don't know nothing about any of those.
Atlanta. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Listen.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
To me, it has become almost a player's world, if that's where you want to be.
Yep.
And so I hear a lot of women complaining either that there are no guys that I can find that sort of, I hate to use the word qualify, but have the standards that I want, or there are no guys interested.
Yeah.
And it's really an interesting dynamic, because that dynamic used to be what we built our communities on.
Yep.
Is that you're right. For those of us who were lucky, we had a 2-parent household.
Yep.
And that contributed to the foundation that we had, the good foundation that we had in terms of where we ended up or where we could go.
Yeah.
And you hear a lot of stories about young men who have run into trouble talking about the fact that they didn't have a father in the household. My question, and you've answered part of it, is that does that dynamic extend all the way back to this formation of relationships, this dynamic where now there's not really a pervasive emphasis on coupling. And so, man, it makes it tough, like being a lion in the jungle. You know, if you got the lion and the lionesses, that's a powerful team. But if you break them off by themselves in the jungle, that's a hard road to hoe, because they work together to hunt, to raise the kids, and all that good stuff. I'm just wondering whether or not our foundation is being ripped a little bit. So I love what I see in the moments between even a Will Smith and a Jada Pinkett. Like the moments when I've seen them interact as a couple. Or Denzel and his wife.
Yeah, I like that one better.
Yeah, or when Bobby Brown and Whitney were, actually, engaged as a couple.
Yeah.
I think as a community, we need to think about that a little more and prop that up a little bit more. But look, I hear you, Jay. I don't know if it's going to have a whole bunch of effect, because if you sitting at your crib and you a brother and you 25 years old and you look at your phone, you got 110 phone numbers.
Yeah.
And a good portion of them are tens. You ain't thinking about no Denzel and his wife, or trying to be Obama and Michelle. That's not what you're thinking about.
Yeah, you tapped into talking about the family structure. I just, getting it ripped away, I think is what you said. Like, I think it's ripped already. I think it's more of a situation of how do we sew it together, or what does the new infrastructure look like? What I see, listen, I don't want to speak in absolutes. Of course, there's still brothers out here that are married, have families, doing a great job. Male and female, black men and women that are working together to have wonderful families. But there is to use your word, pervasive amount of people out here who are, that situation is, I have a child by someone, we are not married, we are co-parenting. We have, I'm just going to say, you have the influx of same-sex marriage, and people, that family dynamic is building up and growing. It's just new, and it doesn't look the same. I think that's my whole point on this whole thing, that it doesn't look the same the way we saw it growing up.
Hey, man, Tina Turner said, what's love got to do with it? And I think that's what you're saying, man. It's kind of turning into that way. So I'm going to say something to the brothers. They're going to get mad at me tonight. Jay, you let me bring up the topic, man, and thank you for that. But look, fellas, it's some black queens out here, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's some black queens out here, man. So I'm going to tell y'all now, I'm looking straight at the camera. Look, man, there's nothing wrong with meeting a black queen and going the romance route and building a foundation and building a relationship. You may not see it a lot now, but brother, I can tell you, back in the day when we were coming up, that's what it was. And that can lead to a lot of great times. I mean, I know it's some great times out there hollering and hanging.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't mad at y'all. That's some great times. But, man, also, man, consider that black queen and that relationship and sticking together and building something special, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that either, man.
All right, two last things for me. Yeah. And I got to go there. One of them being, don't look at Graham. One of them being that I believe another reason why, brothers wait a little longer is because, not wait a little longer, I just think, let me say this, brothers want more sooner. I think a lot of brothers have always wanted to, sleep with a woman or see how far they could get with a woman. But like we were saying earlier, I think, they're not choosing, or, they just, the expectations. If you talk to women right now, they just like, I can't even have an initial conversation and even learn who the brother is without him wanting me to show him my body. So I think that's the thing. And then I'm gonna tell you something, man, that I talk to my friends about. And if you one of my friends and you in this situation, don't be bad at me. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna say it like this, Ken. A lot of brothers are afraid to take on the responsibility of having a family. And what I mean by that is understanding that, I have to put my family first, that I have to be consistent and work every day and provide for them. That if something threatens my family, that I have to be the one to go and stand in front of it and protect them. A lot of men are selfish, don't want to take that on, and that's a difficult decision to make.
Hey man, what I'm telling y'all is to earn that stripe, dog. That's what our fathers did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I love what you're saying, Jay, because what I'm telling the fellas is that part you just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we want to get our stars and our stripes for sleeping with this woman and sleeping with that woman, you get stars and stripes that are more meaningful for being a good partner in a relationship.
That's right.
You get them stars and stripes for being a man and taking care of your girl.
That's right.
You got stars and stripes for being a man and taking care of your child.
That's right.
And so when you look up down the road, man, 40 years, you won't have that emptiness, dog, where all you've emphasized is this, hit it and quit it, hit it and quit it, hit it and quit it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've built something. You built a family. You supported a woman. You've developed a partnership. You've made something happen in the community and for the rest of your family. So I'm just saying we got to start thinking about those other things because they're important, but more importantly for our children.
Mm-hmm.
Being that dude in a household, or being that man to your wife, or being that man to your girl is an important example to set.
Yep.
And it really helps our young men.
Yep.
Be there for your young dudes, man. That's what I'm saying. So, it all started with me, man, with watching Bobby, Something in Common, and Whitney, man, and like, wow, you get all this negativity about their relationship, but look at them in that video, man.
Yeah.
Loving each other, hugging on each other, being parents.
Yeah.
Come on, man. If they can do that, we can do that. Bobby Brown was crazy sometimes.
Yeah.
But he was good. He loved his family.
He did.
So,
he did.
So, that's all I'm saying. Yeah.
I heard Steve Harvey say a lot of men that don't want to get married, they don't know the greatest feeling in the world is to have your family, to have a wife or your woman, and have your child, and know that everything is straight, everybody happy and smiling. That's the best feeling in the world when I walk in the house and know everybody's straight, everybody good, and everybody love me when I walk in.
You can shoot all the ball you want. You can go to all the
shoot
strip
everything
clubs
else
you
too.
want, hang out, whatever you want to do, but there's no feeling like doing what you need to do for your fam. I can tell you that, fellas.
All right.
All right.
Speaking of shooting shots.
It's on. Is it tonight?
Yeah, it started tonight, bro.
Man.
You want me to kick it off?
Kick it off, dog.
Tonight, the finals.
Man.
I don't know if it's bittersweet. My boy LeBron ain't in it. Every year that he's not in the finals is another year that we wasted in his career. But
wait a minute, did LeBron even play this season? I mean, you act like they were in the quarters or the semis or something.
They weren't even in the nickels. Dog.
Yeah. You can't even bring up LeBron's name with the playoffs.
I know, man. I did. And the absence of him is affecting me. But, man, tonight, the Golden State Warriors, led by Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and your boy Klay Thompson, and Poole, that dude, I'm calling him a baby splash brother. He's out here doing his thing against the Celtics, the Boston Celtics. You got your boy Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, dog. And, hey, the old man Al Harper, he out there balling like LG, boy.
Yes, sir.
He still got some spring in them old legs.
Yeah, LG like Marcus Smart.
You think so?
Yeah, he played like Marcus Smart a little bit.
Yeah, be able to do everything.
Yeah, and then trying to injure you like he did with Steph the last time. They trying to hurt your leg so you can't get the game too.
What do you think the flavor of this is going to be?
Man, it's the brick wall versus the comet. That's what it is, and which one will prevail. I mean, Golden State is kind of in a way, if you take away Draymond, kind of like the Dallas Cowboys, a finesse team, and with a lot of talent.
Yeah.
But boy, sometimes I said it all this past year with the Cowboys. When you run up against that monster, that's physical, aggressive, that finesse stuff don't work quite as good. Now, I think what it's going to be, it's going to boil down to whether or not, to me, whether or not two people are affected. Klay Thompson, and your boy Poole.
Yeah.
If they're effective, that curtain, all they got to pull them curtains out, because them curtains going to come out real quick. But if the physicality of the Celtics is a factor, boy, it's hard to get that jump off when you walking in that mud, dog.
Yeah.
And if they start putting some bodies on them and affecting their ability to move and shoot and run plays and get space, it could be a problem real quick.
Yeah, listen, bro, I done seen it time and time again. If you go out there making a bunch of mistakes, you go out there missing, like turning the ball over and not scoring, you'll blink, dog, and you'll be down by 30.
Yeah, man, and I agree with you on all of that. And the issue I have maybe with the Celtics is that if the Heat were injured, and the Celtics barely got by, man, it may be one of those situations where really the Celtics aren't as good as we're thinking they are. But I can guarantee you, Golden State's good as we think they are. And so I'm also a little concerned that the Celtics struggled with the Heat. Tyler Hero wasn't there.
No.
Jimmy Butler was scoring 30 and 40 on one leg.
Yeah, he got a bad leg. What happened to Dragic? Is he still? He don't play with them no more. Maybe he's hurt too. Yeah, dog.
They had a lot of injuries, man, and the Celtics still barely got by. I'm scared, man, that if and Klay mad now because y'all disrespecting him, say he ain't even a third team all NBA All-Star and all that. If they come in there mad and it's one of those things where we're overvaluing the Celtics, this could get ugly quick. It could get ugly tonight. Yeah.
Well, what was weird about the Boston Celtics versus the Miami Heat series is that every game was a blowout, I think, except that last game. So they have the Celtics, that is, have the ability to score a lot of points, to execute. They just make a lot of mistakes. And I'm just concerned about their tendency of making a lot of mistakes against a team that just totally destroys teams when they make mistakes. Now, I will say this, low key, there's a little bit of pressure on, I ain't gonna say a little bit, there's a lot of pressure on Steph Curry, Charlotte guy, Charlotte hometown boy, shout out to Steph, but his legacy being on the line. And, can he win you said it last episode, like he's never won a finals MVP. And so can he come in and be the man and finish the deal? And so I think he's motivated, but man, he got a high tendency as well of kind of making a lot of bad decisions during the finals.
That's what I'm scared of, though. I'm scared he's focused. He like, man, I'm gonna go get it now. I'm gonna show them.
Yeah.
And boy, it could get ugly quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we gonna give our predictions, man.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, we go.
Give them, man.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, let you go first.
Okay, the easy pick is to pick Golden State, right? I think if the Celtics, this might be the Celtics' year. It might be destiny, dog. You know what I mean? But I'm picking the Celtics I'm picking the Golden State Warriors in 6. I'm going to say in 6.
Okay, well, if the Celtics lose game 1, and they get spanked,
it's in Golden State, right?
It's 4-0. I'm going to give them 4-1 just because I'm feeling generous tonight, man.
They're going to lose tonight, right?
If they get spanked tonight, it's going to be 4-0. And it's not going to be close. Because if there's a formula, if Golden State figures out there's a formula against these dudes, it's over. So I think it's going to be 4-1, But Golden State is gonna handle some business. So
Since you did it like that, all right. So I'm gonna say Golden State's gonna win tonight. The first 2 games of Golden State. I think they'll win the first one. I think they're gonna win the second one, and then I think Celtics will win back in Boston. That's 2-1. Man, I think it's gonna be 3-1 going back to Golden State, bro.
That's forward. That might be.
And they're gonna have that desperate joint. They'll win that one.
Yeah.
And then the Golden State might win on Boston's floor.
For all you young folks out there, this ain't your grandparents' Boston Celtics.
Not at all.
So just if it end up being like we telling you, just take that because that's
Yeah.
All right, man. Look, we get toward the end of end of the show. It's time for this.
We in the third block.
Third block, dog. Man, we get into these top 5s. Boy, people love these top 5s, man. We got a special top 5 tonight, man. I ain't gonna read what you put up on the board. We can't read what you put up on the board.
Hold on. This segment is brought to you by Old Negro Spirituals by Attorney Ken Harris.
It is. Going back deep. Trying to elevate the community in here.
Okay.
All right, the top 5.
Set it up, man, because I don't even know what we're doing.
Top 5 most influential African Americans in history.
Okay.
Top 5 most influential African Americans in history.
Okay.
Hey, man.
I gotta go first this time.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go first. Man,
Okay.
I'll let you go first. You the boss. You go first.
Nah, I think I made you go first the last time. I think because I was saying I had to go first.
Okay, that's good.
So,
Because I always win this segment.
okay. All right. So this is top 5. Just so I'm clear, top 5 influential. What do you mean by influential?
I mean, it can be anything in terms of how they affected culture, how they affected finance, how they affected politics.
Okay.
Just top 5 most influential Black Americans of all time.
All right. My number 5. A lot of people don't know this is one of my idols, and I respect him a whole lot. His name is John H. Johnson. He is the publisher and founder of Ebony Magazine and Jet Magazine. I think he started the publication back in I think it was 1950 or 48. It was like a really, really long time. And not only was he a great publisher, meaning that he had, it was a national magazine. I'm talking about way back then where he had distribution and was speaking directly. When I think about influence, he was speaking directly to the Black community every week with Jet Magazine. We remember Jet Magazine, he had the Jet Beauty of the Week and all that stuff, but that came out every week, man, for almost 40 or 50 years. And so when you talk about being able to communicate Black issues and things of that nature to the Black community for almost, 50, 60 years, especially during that time, just being able to touch so many Black people all over the country, like I just don't know how much more you can be as far as an influential Black person in history. So John H. Johnson, that's my number 5.
Man, that's strong stuff.
Thank you,
strong
bro.
stuff. All right, man. My number 5 gonna surprise some people.
Okay.
Because you said top 5 influential. You think history and politicians and all that. But that was a good one with Mr. Johnson. All right.
Okay.
My number 5 is Michael Jackson.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. People don't. Michael Jackson was born in 1958.
Yes.
Somehow you think Michael Jackson was born in the 80s or something. He was born in 1958 during the Civil Rights era.
Yep.
Their first big hit with the Jacksons was, I think, I Want You Back in 1970, kind of right as the Civil Rights era was waning. Mm-hmm. We were moving into the 70s. But if you think about how long he impacted the image of African Americans around the world.
Yeah.
It's funny. I dare say this. African Americans didn't look at Michael Jackson really like he was a Black person. It's strange. Neither did white folks. He was Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
But what it did was he gave an example to the world that an African American can be talented and articulate and dignified and influential and wealthy and powerful for decades.
Yeah.
all this turbulence that took place during the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, Michael Jackson was always influential and powerful and wealthy and charitable throughout that entire period of time. There's no way to quantify Michael Jackson's impact on how people around the world looked at African Americans.
Yeah.
And if you just look at his astonishing talent
Mm-hmm.
and the impact it has when you have someone who looks like you be that talented,
Yeah.
that means you can be that talented.
Yeah.
That means that you have some of that spirit inside of you.
Yeah.
So my number 5, not for just, the highest grossing album of all time. We all know that. But for his impact on how African Americans have been viewed around the world for decades, I give Michael Jackson my number 5.
For me, I want to talk long about Michael Jackson, but I will say, shout out to Michael Jackson. I could talk about him for a long time. One of the biggest things, man, not only was he like so influential and so popular in America, but around the world, countries I had never heard of. I seen people, hundreds of thousands of people just falling out and him being, knowing who he is. And so for that being a black man, that's really strong. All right, number 4 for me is, of course, Oprah Winfrey. I just look at Oprah Winfrey, man. You're talking about a black woman who didn't look like, this, have the model-esque figure, didn't, have this long hair and, fair skin or anything like that. But, who looked like somebody that you may have known in your neighborhood that was in your family. And she came on TV every day in millions of homes in black, white, whatever culture or race that you were. Not only demonstrating class and dignity and being articulate and touching issues, expressing how black people are. I could just go on and on, and also being one of the most, for a long time, one of the most richest black people in America. So for a very long time, Oprah Winfrey just had it on lock, and she's still doing her thing, and she's about 70 years old, I think now.
Oprah, that's strong stuff right there, man.
Okay.
All right, my number 4. Undeniable, you know what I'm saying, as I continue my string of winning these segments, is Larry Blackmon from Cameo. No, I'm just kidding. Man. I'm just kidding.
Word out.
No, I'm just kidding, man. My number 4 is the illustrious Harriet Tubman.
Okay.
Is my number 4.
Harriet Tubman, illustrious. Okay.
Yes, man. Really incredible story. Harriet Tubman, people don't realize she was, of course, a slave.
Yeah.
And when she was a child, she had an incident where her master threw a metal, I think it was an anvil, at another slave, but it hit her in the head. And it caused her for the rest of her life to have issues with dizziness, and she ended up having hallucinations.
Wow.
Those hallucinations are what led her to her religious conviction. She had an incident where she had been transferred to another slave owner, and she prayed to God for her freedom, where she didn't get her freedom.
Yeah.
So then she started praying that her slave master would die, and he died 4 days later.
Oh, Lord.
So she regretted that for the rest of her life, but she always believed in the power of prayer. So she broke away from her slave master, fled with her brothers. Brothers got scared, pulled her back.
Yeah.
Now she's back a slave, but she finally ended up breaking away, leaving, going up north to Philadelphia, found her freedom. But she decides once she get to Philadelphia, she gonna go back and free other slaves.
That's cold.
She didn't found the Underground Railroad, so let's make that clear. She was a beneficiary of the Underground Railroad. But because she was the beneficiary of it, she used it to go back 13 times.
It's incredible, man.
Risk of life and limb. Freed 70 slaves going back and forth. Ended up being sort of a property owner, business person, took care of her family. But, Harriet Tubman was off the chain, man, in terms of what she did, in terms of risking her life to help other people and kind of showing us the way from slavery to freedom to prosperity. So Harriet Tubman is my number 4.
Ken, that's a strong pick. Listen, what I'm still amazed about is that if you really kind of think about it, think about where we live right now, and think about all these buildings being gone. Think about there's no cars. Think about there's only horse and carriage possibly, right? And think about that there's no phones, no navigational system. Man, going from here to Gastonia. We live in Charlotte, North Carolina. Like going 20 miles away from here, be it on foot, horse and carriage, or hiding somewhere. Like that is amazing to go from a place like in the South to go to the North, hundreds of miles away.
Man, sometimes it would take her 3 weeks.
That's incredible,
one way.
bro. That's
3
incredible.
weeks one way walking.
Yeah.
To help people escape slavery, man. That's just something else.
And last thing I say, think about all the interactions you had to bypass with seeing somebody who would be like, "What's up with y'all?" That's crazy.
Well, let me tell you something, man. I know we're going to keep on moving here quickly, but you realize there were escaped slave hunters at that time.
Yeah.
So you escape, your master put out the little flyer saying that you escape, and then these other guys go out here and hunt for you.
Yeah.
And then they catch you, they get a reward.
Yeah.
That's what they were trying to avoid. It's incredible, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
For me, you talked about Harriet Tubman. For me, is Frederick Douglass. Major former slave turns into an abolitionist. Is a major fixture during the time of helping end slavery, influence slavery. You're talking about a former slave who started having almost like conversations with the president of the United States. Like that is insane to me that in the 1800s somebody could be that like influential. And I think when you start talking about at a time where people looked at African Americans as less than human, that a black man could stand there and show himself with class and dignity in that era, man, in the 1800s, where black people were property, and hold himself in such high regard and be respected by some, to elocute himself in a way to talk about the damage that slavery was doing and why black people deserve freedom. It's just incredible. There's no way that I could not have a Frederick Douglass on my list.
All right, let me get to my number 3. Then my number 3 is Ali. Ali. And not just because of the boxing. I think Ali was 55-6 as a heavyweight. So if you start there, man, you think about who was boxing then. He was murderer's row out there in terms of trying to be a heavyweight. You had Ken Norton, Joe Frazier, George Foreman. You had all these monsters out there, man, boxing. And to be 55-6, I mean, I forgot the first one he beat up. That's
Sonny Liston.
Sonny Liston, man, was scary.
I'm always like, get up.
Man, he beat Sonny Liston twice, man.
Yeah.
One on a ghost punch. So, he had a fantastic boxing career, but for him to give it all up. Standing up for the African American community, being a conscientious objector, and then also the way he aligned himself with the Muslim community. Unapologetically. Back when, man, that could get you killed. Man, he's like, no, this is what we stand for. We stand for the African American community and being upright and positive and speaking with a strong voice and speaking with conviction in a time when that was dangerous. No, Ali is my number 3.
Yeah, and I bet you could go back, and I'm sure in the Islamic community, you can go back and trace the impact of Muhammad Ali being converted to Islam at that time, and how the Nation of Islam grew so like exponentially from that point to all the Muslims that you have today. So I bet you could track that. But my number 2, man, is of course, I gotta go Barack Hussein Obama, man. Barack, listen, for me, I think there is incalculable. I don't think you can calculate how influential and his impact on not the world, to see a black man as the president of the United States. When we were young, you go in your grandmama's house, or you go in your auntie house or whatever, and they had that picture of Martin Luther King in there, right? And now you go in, you see pictures of Barack Obama and all your grandparents' house and all of your auntie's houses out here. Barack Obama, I could go on. He the president of the United States, man. Something that everyone that we're on this list, we're naming on this list, thought that was not even possible, and he achieved it.
Strong stuff. I'm not worried about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up and go up to the mountaintop. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. So right now I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
Dang, dog, I thought the clapping, I thought I was there for a minute. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was...
Bro, I thought I was there for a minute. My bad. I thought you were going to say, tell him about your dream, Michael. Malcolm, go ahead, bro.
That was his last speech, man. And it's something about Martin Luther King knowing what was going to happen to him and still doing what was necessary to help our community. And for me, there are heroes that you can touch.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are heroes that seem to be unreal.
Yeah.
Martin Luther King to me is unreal. Yeah. What he did. He's a combination of someone who is so powerful in what they did and how they did it that they're almost not human to me.
Mm-hmm.
And his caring, his profound caring for the black community, the sacrifice, he lived his whole life for us.
Yeah.
And it's really strange when you look at that. Like, you almost wonder, well, where did Martin Luther King live? Damn, I saw him, he's marching or in a jail or giving a speech. He lived his whole life so we could live the life that we're living now.
Yeah.
So my number 2, without a doubt, is King.
Yeah. Listen, for me, he's number 1. So my number 1 is MLK, Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Listen, for me, Ken, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm big on strategy, thinking. I dabble in chess a little bit. And what I like about Martin, when you go back and study him, the way he engineered, not just sit-ins, but it was a strategy of, like, when you go, I think, was it Selma? You watch how he's like, okay, he was talking to the president. He was trying to get the president to do things and help. I'm not sure if it was the Civil Rights Act that he was trying to enact at the time or push through. But everything that he did was so calculated and thoughtful. His efforts were, like, he was a brilliant man. I'm just talking about, that's just strategy, but not like him as an orator was so great. His education was great. His charisma was great. And you talk about his last speech, it's eerie. Like, when I watch that, you can feel the sorrow. You can feel I hate to say it, almost the eeriness of death. Like, he was facing it. Mm-hmm. And it was almost like God had said it. This is it, bro. Mm-hmm. This is happening. Mm-hmm. And he was accepting it. And to stand there, like the young folks say, 10 toes down and say, I might not get there with you. Mm-hmm. That is an incredible thing to do, man. He is one of the greatest humans to walk Earth. Mm-hmm. And I believe that with all my heart.
Well, we interchanged our 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I've got Barack Obama as my number 1. Hard call. I mean, because either one of them could be number 1.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe you can do something no one else has ever done. Mm. It's even harder to believe you can do something that no one else has ever done, and it's contingent on millions of people helping you do it.
Yeah.
And Barack Obama didn't just decide to be president. He had to convince the electorate to make him president. Mm-hmm. And guess what? That electorate was made up of a massive amount of diversity. Mm-hmm. He wasn't going to get elected just because African Americans wanted a black president.
No.
He had to carry himself in a way that was far superior to his opponents because he couldn't just be better than them. He had to be far superior to them in order to be elected president.
Yeah.
What I give him props about the most, though, and this is where I take some heat sometimes, is that he had to be everybody's president when he was president. He could have gone in and tried to be the African Americans president.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have worked. He wouldn't have gotten anywhere because they weren't going to let him do that. It's hard to get up every day and understand that you've got to walk a balance so that you're effective for the most amount of people that you care about. And he had to walk that balance for 2 terms.
Yep.
And came out of it one of the greatest presidents, black or white, in history.
Yep.
Universally considered one of the greatest presidents of all time. Led us to an impossible period of prosperity in light of what he was facing when he came into office. We don't give him enough credit for that. So my number 1 is my man, Barack Obama.
Yeah, no, that's strong, man. I already told you how I feel about Barack.
We got some
I got a couple honorable mentions. It's funny you say this. Michael Jackson, for me, I was talking about Martin Luther King, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., talking about him being one of the greatest humans to walk Earth. For me, Michael Jackson is like a supernova. Like, you talking about, he's not real. I've looked at so much video of him. I've watched so many performances of him, and I'm looking at him like, that is not a human being right there. Like that, and people, Graham is laughing at me about this, but there's not a lot. I've never seen anybody more talented than him in so many capacities. Not just dancing, not just singing, but he wrote music. He composed music. He was a businessman. It was just a lot to him. And then on the influential side, and I'll pass it to you, is that it wasn't just black people. It was millions of people all over the world. When he went to other countries, the leaders of those countries wanted him to stay with him and give him money and things. Like, listen, for me, I could have put him number 1, but out of respect, I didn't do it.
Man, my honorable mention is my man Kevin Hart.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
I was gonna let you rock.
All right, man. No, Jesse Jackson.
Okay.
Jesse ran for president twice.
Yeah. What, 84 and 88?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sought the Democratic presidential nomination twice. Really was unprecedented that someone would do that, and he filled us with so much pride when he ran for president. I remember Jesse Jackson came to that aura you talking about. He came to Chapel Hill one time during this run when he was really influential, and he walked through the crowd, and I just looked at him like, man, that's Jesse Jackson. Jesse Jackson.
Yeah.
When people said Jesse Jackson back then, no, you felt pride in that. That's Jesse Jackson, man. Jesse Jackson said this. It takes us back to that time when black leadership was focused in 1 or 2 people.
Yeah.
And so we had an effectiveness in the black community because we could get things done through that 1 or 2 people based on kind of what they emitted.
Yeah.
And that was a good time because it's kind of like we moved in unison behind those 1 or 2 people.
Yeah.
Jesse Jackson was that person and took on that pressure for a long time. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize, Jesse Jackson may have been the last person, I believe, to speak to Martin Luther King a lot.
Yeah.
I think they were talking about this protest that the gentlemen were having in Memphis. And I think Jesse was they were having a dispute about Jesse Jackson wearing a jacket to dinner that night.
Yeah.
And then Martin Luther King was shot. So he's been there for the African American community. He kind of waned in influence kind of when Barack came around, a little bit before that.
Yeah.
But still, that dude, man, to me, Jesse Jackson handled this business for a long time for the African American community.
Yeah, the same way I talked about Michael Jackson, I'm gonna talk about my other honorable mention. He could have easily made my list. Was Michael Jordan, man. for me, Graham, he's heard me say this. I think I've said it on an episode before. Like, it's Jesus, Bruce Lee, and Michael Jordan. Like the ability to master oneself, to be about perfection. When we see the number 23, I can go on, and I ain't gonna do that. I just think when it comes to Michael Jordan, and when you think about a black man, like, again, and I'm gonna say this as a dark skinned brother, like. He was bald headed, right? He was dark skinned, and he is somebody who is beloved by multiple races all over this world. He represents greatness. He represents winning and success and perfection and hard work. And I believe that he has the most perfect story when you talk about, sports. I just think he embodies that, man. So I think his influence by people seeing a black man all over the country do that and represent that, I think it's hard to not have him on our list.
Gotcha. And my last honorable mention is someone you mentioned earlier, Oprah Winfrey.
Okay.
Man, 25 years, the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Yeah.
So that's a long time, man. We loved every minute of it. It made us look good every time it came on, because she was so articulate, so dedicated, so precise, so professional. It made us all, and what it's done for African American women, and for her to be an owner, a billionaire, and to do it with this quiet dignity that she has been absolutely excellent. So. And it made, it kind of brought light-skinned brothers back a little bit with Stedman, what I'm saying? So I got to give a proud light-skinned brothers out there, LG and all y'all happy Stedman got his, because Snipes had handled it. Snipes and Denzel had handled some business for us. And MJ. But
I don't know what Stedman did too, but
he did a little something on him back. At least to let you know you can get somebody. So
are you that somebody?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? If you can catch a billionaire, you did something. So props to Stedman. But man, I think a great discussion, man. And it's something that we should always deliberate. The great people in our community, in the black court, who have done great things and enduring things for the black community overall.
Are you good, man?
I'm good, man.
Right.
Always good to be in the black court with my brother.
All right, man. Well, we'll see y'all next time. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit comment, do everything, man. We'll see you in the black court next time.
Peace.